Instagram teen accounts have automatic protections for what teens see and who can contact them, plus time management tools. And Instagram will continue adding built-in safety features to help create age-appropriate experiences. Learn more about teen accounts and Instagram's ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teen accounts.
Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, so much happening on the war on Iran. Just a little bit ago, there were reports that fragments from an Iranian missile cratered just about 300 yards from the Wailing Wall. That's a very big deal and very near the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Of course, major religious sites there in Israel. That is an enormous issue, and it's right there hitting in the old city of Jerusalem. If some of you have been, I have certainly, and you can see a massive crater right there, right near one of the holiest sites in the world. This comes as Iran is putting out messages saying that nothing is off the target list, saying that they will also target tourist sites worldwide, anywhere where U.S. troops and others, their, quote, enemies, may be. So that is a very chilling message. And this comes as thousands of more U.S. troops are going to the region, going to the area, and we'll see where all of this leads. In the last little bit, President Trump also putting out a statement, because on one hand, we're seeing all these new ships and others that are heading to the area, and we're seeing a lot of movement, which looks like a ramping up. Maybe they're going to be used for Carg Island. Maybe they're going to be used to help secure the Strait of Hormuz. There are many, many issues. So you've got all of that. And then on the other hand, we have a statement here that just came out from President Trump. And it says, we are getting very close to meeting our objectives as we consider winding down our great military efforts in the Middle East with respect to the terrorist regime of Iran. And then he further says that the Hormuz Strait will be guarded, will be policed as necessary by other nations who use it. The U.S. does not, if asked, will help these countries in their Hormuz efforts, but it shouldn't be necessary once Iran's threat is eradicated. Importantly, it will be an easy military operation for them. In other words, it shouldn't have to fall on the United States. And those who use the Strait of Hormuz need to start stepping up. So you could tell President Trump is not messing around. He is telling these allies who he told a little bit ago, stop being cowards and step up. This is in your backyard. You guys are the ones who are getting all the oil coming through the Strait of Hormuz. Why should you have to rely on the United States? I actually think it's a very powerful, important message. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222, and you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show. Meantime, as I mentioned, President Trump, right before he left to go down to Florida, he's had a busy week in Washington. This is what he had to say about the success so far of Operation Epic Fury, heading into now 3 weeks.
I want to begin by just saying we're doing extremely well in Iran. The difference between them and us is they had a Navy 2 weeks ago. They have no Navy anymore. It's all at the bottom of the sea. 58 ships knocked down in 2 days. And we have the greatest Navy anywhere in the world. It's not even close. But we are doing really well. We're not going to let them have nuclear weapons, because if they had them, they'd use them, and we're not going to let that happen. Should have been done a long time ago by other presidents. President Trump very clear that there will be no nuclear weapons in the hands of crazy, nutty, insane terrorist leaders. And that is for sure, especially as you're looking at the Ayatollahs. We don't even know who's running Iran right now. We have no idea. I mean, all we've heard are these statements coming from the son of the Ayatollah, the son of the supreme leader, but we haven't seen him. So we don't even know if he's alive, if all these messages that, quote, are coming from the son of, if it's a bunch of hogwash.
We do know that just a little bit ago, the spokesperson for the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, that individual was taken out. Nobody wants to be a leader in Iran these days. They seem to have a very short lifespan. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. So do you believe that President Trump is just kind of amping up and having a lot of these people in the neighborhood, but not necessarily planning to use them, if you will? Maybe just bringing them in and having them there as, as peace through strength, saying essentially, you're coming to the region. Yes, we want to make sure that if something goes haywire, they're there in the area, they're there in the theater, they're ready to do it. But if not, they're just going to go home. But at least they're a good insurance policy. Suddenly sharing a whole bunch of U.S. military might could send a pretty big message to anyone who wishes to do us harm. And here is President Trump, because he says, we're meeting our objectives, but he's still not saying that they're done yet. And I have mixed feelings, guys. I mean, obviously, everybody wants the war to be over as soon as it can be. Nobody likes war, especially those in the region, anywhere around the world. On the other hand, we are in it. We're committed. And I think President Trump's mission is a noble one. I think it's incredibly noble. I think it's incredibly gutsy. I think it's incredibly brave. There are so many other presidents that wish they did it or said they were going to try to keep Iran in line, and they didn't do anything. In fact, they sent pallets of cash, and they were appeasing the regime. I mean, is there anybody out there that think it's a good idea to have a nuclear Iran? I don't think so. So I say bravo to President Trump for stepping up. And I hope that also, yes, I hope things get accomplished quickly, but I also hope they get accomplished correctly. I hope they get accomplished so the mission is done. Because the last thing you want are things to reconstitute, months or a year or two after president's gone. Can you imagine? Then somebody like a Joe Biden type comes in and suddenly says, we'll send you some pallets of cash. No worries about it. You can reconstitute everything. We're not going to check on anything. We're going to appease you. What a difference a presidency makes. And here is President Trump today saying, we don't want a ceasefire. We're winning.
I was calling for a ceasefire in the Middle East and to reopen dialogue. What do you say to folks?
Well, look, we can have dialogue, but I don't want to do a ceasefire. You don't do a ceasefire when you're literally obliterating the other side. They don't have a Navy. They don't have an Air Force. They don't have any equipment. They don't have any spotters. They don't have anti-aircraft. They don't have radar. And their leaders have all been killed at every level. We're not looking to do that.
And yet, even as noble and as heroic and as gutsy as I think this mission is, the Democrats don't care. They're essentially hoping, I think, that President Trump loses this fight. I don't think they're definitely not rooting for Trump. So it makes me feel like they're not rooting for America. You got to hear this. This is Governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, who's been a Trump nemesis, but this is also a guy who is talking about running potentially for president. And listen to what he said about Trump's actions in the Middle East.
Donald Trump has made this world less safe. What keeps me up at night is that when we say that the world order is changing, that it means less order, and it means there is more adventurism that's taking place, not just by the United States, but by other countries too.
The world is less safe because Trump is trying to take out an evil tyrant and his regime. One down. Remember, 40 went down in the first few seconds. That's a historical feat. And yet J.B. Pritzker seems to think this is just all for chaos. That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And here is a stunning moment, of all places, on CNN, guys. Harry Etten, he's sort of the data guru, poll guru there. And he came on and said, here's the poll of MAGA those who are big supporters of Make America Great. And here's what they think of Trump and this action against Iran. Trump's base loves it. Trump's base is behind him. Take a listen.
And this is one of those, because just take a look here. MAGA GOP view of Trump. Approve 100%. 100%. If you are a member of MAGA in the GOP, you approve of Donald John Trump. 0% say that they disapprove. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know you can't go higher than 100%. He is the 1972 Miami Dolphins. Now, there are some Republicans who disapprove of Donald John Trump, but they are not members of the Make America Great Again movement. The bottom line is this. If you are a member of MAGA, you approve of Donald Trump.
It's interesting, though, because there have been a couple prominent people who have sort of come out online, and they're very mad about this war with Iran because he promised no new wars. Is there any sign that people might be leaving MAGA relative to 2024?
Yeah, okay. So, I've said it before, and, the theme of this segment is Tucker Carlson be darned. And when we look at the numbers, I've heard some people say, oh, you know what, when you look at those MAGA numbers, it doesn't account for those who might have left MAGA. But take a look here. Americans who identify as MAGA, in November of 2024, it was 28% of Americans. Now it's basically the same. If anything, it's slightly higher at 30%. The bottom line is this. The MAGA base within the GOP is not shrinking. It's the same size. If anything, it is slightly larger than it was back in 2024 when, of course, Donald Trump won a second term. So that 100% that Donald Trump has approval among MAGA GOP, that is not an artifact of MAGA shrinking. It's just an indication of how strong Donald Trump's grip is on that MAGA base.
And so I guess it begs the question, what's happening with inside the GOP and if there are any splits there, because with those kind of numbers, they're going to want to retain that, right? So they can retain their seats.
Yes. And what we're talking about, we mentioned Iran in the intro of this segment, GOP on U.S. military action in Iran. Look at this. In MAGA, it's 90% approval. It's 90% approval, just 5% disapproval. If you disapprove of the job that Donald Trump is doing, the U.S. military action in Iran, and you're a member of the GOP, look at this. It's your non-MAGA. You're non-MAGA. It's 36% there, 54% approve. But the majority of Republicans approve of the job that the U.S. military action is in Iran, and the majority of MAGA, which is the majority of the GOP, very much approve, 90%. Very little split in Donald Trump's base. Those who disapprove in the GOP, simply put, they hate MAGA.
It's really clear. MAGA has the floor.
MAGA has the floor, 100%.
All right. Harry Anton, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That says it all. 100%. Did you ever think you'd hear a poll of 100% support for Trump in MAGA on CNN of all places? Let's go to Wendy in Long Island on line 1. Go ahead, Wendy. Your thoughts tonight.
Yeah. Hey there, Rita. Good evening. I was surprised to hear what happened about the bomb that landed near the Western Wall in Israel, because I always thought that at some point in time that the mosque that's there now would be destroyed. So the question is, if that actually does happen, what would be built, a synagogue or a mosque?
That's an interesting question. Well, listen, a couple different things. As you know, when you go to the Wailing Wall, underneath is, of course, where the Jews go. And then on the top is where the Muslims go. So, there's so many layers to that. And you know what? Obviously, I think they would replace it with whatever is there. But the only thing first of all, they're historic, so they're irreplaceable, so how could, it's like, that's what makes them so precious. The history that's taken place there. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre, obviously tied to Jesus. How do you ever replace something like that if it becomes destroyed? It's really irreplaceable, first of all, historically. And then the other thing is also, Wendy, is the emotions, too. Like a lot of people were talking about the fact that, you see a lot of people crying that it got into the old town because the whole thing is such a sacred area and emotions are so high. And there's already obviously such division there, but they are, obviously things are different today, given what's going on, but there is such powerful emotions and attachments to that area. I think if you start hitting it, or it hits, depending who hits it, whether it's intentional or not. But if you hit some major area, if you destroy the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, my goodness, I mean, the emotions, think about what that would happen. Or if you hit the Wailing Wall, or even the spot, where the Arabs are praying on the top. Different groups are going to have different emotions. How do you think it's going to go, Wendy, if it hits that way? And then obviously they don't care where they're hitting. I don't think they were necessarily targeting that area, but these missiles, a lot of them are going off, and it was a big missile fragment, and they're sending these cluster munitions that are splitting up all over the place. You don't know where it's going to hit, Wendy.
Well, that is true. But what we can say is Jerusalem's a lot more important to the Jewish faith than it is to the Muslim faith.
Yes, no doubt. No doubt. And that's why you look at all and to the world, I mean, I really believe that, Jerusalem, obviously to the Jewish faith it is, but I think it's, the world values that. The world appreciates that. And that's why I say it truly is irreplaceable. I mean, it was heartbreaking to see the images. I've been there to the old town and spent time there, and to look at where this big crater is today. It gave me a gut punch just because I know how special and how sacred that is. Let's pray, Wendy. Let's pray. Thanks so much. We're going to continue your calls, everybody, after the break. 1-800-848-9222. And you're listening to The Rita Cosby Show on another busy night.
The Rita Cosby Show.
And let's go to Gail in New York City, line 5. Go ahead, Gail. Your thoughts tonight.
Hi there. I'm very glad that we're doing so well in Iran. But if we've really, as President Trump said, deposed the leaders and completely eliminated all that, how is it the authorities still have the power to go ahead and publicly hang those 3 young men, one of them the star wrestler, in spite of huge international outcry? That doesn't sound like we've got the upper hand in Iran.
Gail, you bring up a great point. Well, first off, I think we definitely have made enormous headway, but there's clearly a lot of players that are still there doing some very bad things. And, Gail, I want to have you hold on because I want to continue with you, because I'll tell you, my heart broke that those 3 teenage guys, the 3 athletes and that well-known wrestler, apparently they tortured them, forced them into a confession. So it just shows, the brutality of the regime. But you're right, it also shows that we still have a bit to go. We can't rest on our laurels. Stay with us. We're going to go to a break, Gail. I'll continue with you right after that.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Wayne County, Michigan, where police officers saved 5 passengers after a car crashed into a tractor trailer and burst into flames. Hero police officers stormed through the inferno to save 5 passengers from the fireball crash. Witnesses on the scene describe 50-foot flames after 4 Michigan officers were injured in that accident. Now, a car was speeding southbound in the northbound lanes when a semi-truck was turning at the intersection leading to the crash. The crash caused fuel to spill from the semi-truck, a lot of it, which ignited and trapped everyone in their vehicles. 4 of the Michigan police officers who responded to the fiery accident heroically pulled the trapped passengers all out to safety, but got injured in the process. But they are expected to make a full recovery. And bravo to, the very heroic actions of the men and women in blue. And I'm so glad they're going to be okay. Well, we are talking, of course, about everything that's happening with Iran. Also, Zohran Mamdani. Where is the New York press corps? This week, they had plenty of opportunities to be able to question Zohran Mamdani about his wife, about all of the issues, and they didn't get to it. So what the heck is going on with that? Why did they give Zohran Mamdani and his family a pass? What's happening to the New York press corps? These statements are vile. They're anti-Israel. They're anti-American, praising Palestinian terrorists. And it comes after he's talked about this community safety program, sending social workers versus cops. The whole thing is a mess. Increasing taxes. The list goes on and on. Supporting also the folks that are illegal on the bikes, not kind of getting the enforcement down on that. There's a lot of problems. The list goes on and on. So why is the media seeming to be like, oh, okay? I mean, has the media just gone so far left they don't understand? Or are they afraid to ask the mayor a tough question that they're going to be called racist? 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And here is President Trump, because earlier today, he was talking about the Strait of Hormuz. That is the big thing. That's why they are sending thousands of troops to the Middle East, because they need to secure that strait. At one part, it's about 2 miles wide. So this is a big, big effort. They are sending a lot of folks. The USS Tripoli is already in the area. They're sending another ship that is going to be coming from essentially from the San Diego area. So there's a lot of questions here that are going on. And President Trump is saying it's pretty basic. We've done the hard work, and now securing it shouldn't be that tough. It might be a little more tougher than he thinks, but there may not even be any mines down there. They don't know. They're doing searches. But either way, ships are afraid to go through, and that alone is causing a huge disruption to the world markets. And here is President Trump talking about opening the strait.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
You said opening the Strait of Hormuz is a simple military maneuver.
Very simple.
Yeah, but what did you mean by that?
It's a simple military maneuver. It's relatively safe, but you need a lot of help in the sense of you need ships, you need volume. And NATO could help us, but they so far haven't had the courage to do so. And others could help us. But, you know, we don't use it. You know, at a certain point, it'll open itself at a certain point. But we've defeated the enemy, and they are an enemy. They're a sick group of people. The leadership is gone. The Navy is gone. The Air Force is gone. The anti-aircraft equipment that they have, the radar they have is all gone. Everything's gone. The strait itself, the actual strait, how are you? The strait itself is, we're doing a good job. But it would be nice if the countries, including China, if the countries that use it, China uses it 90% of their energy. Japan is 95% of the energy. It would be nice if those countries would get involved.
And President Trump also scolding those countries. I mean, it's pretty interesting. He is calling them cowards. So far, just a few of them have put out statements, but that's about it. I mean, they haven't said that what they're going to do. They haven't said how they're going to help. They've just kind of said, well, you know what? We may do something. We're willing to help. Well, that's nice, but what does that mean? Are you sending ships? Are you sending men? Are you sending money? What is willing to help? Is that just like a nice little publicist statement? Like, we're kind of willing at some point to find the willingness to help. And hopefully the war will be over by the time we have to put any sort of effort into it. Because they came too late, too little. And President Trump said he will remember that. Take a listen. Here's a little bit more, because he said they need to be helping. It's their backyard.
Lindsey Graham has asked for you to reconsider the American bases in Spain, in Germany, after what they have done in the Strait of Hormuz. What's your take?
Well, it deserves. He's right about asking that. And I think NATO's gone down a long way because they haven't. I mean, they should be helping with the Strait. They get much of their energy from the Strait of Hormuz. And if Lindsey Graham said that, and don't forget, he was the big NATO guy for a while, and now he's not. And a lot of senators and congressmen, they're very upset with the fact that NATO has done nothing.
Yeah, and the world should be upset that NATO has done nothing. It really is a complete disappointment. Think about the special relationship between the U.S. and UK, and that's the best they can do. The UK has been abysmal, absolutely pathetic. And they have a lot more oil by far than the U.S. coming through the Strait of Hormuz, as does a whole bunch of others. So how come they're not stepping up? That's a huge, huge problem. And in the meantime, as I mentioned, the U.S. is sending thousands more troops to the area. What do you think they'll be used for? And are you concerned that the war is widening? Here is Brigadier General John Teicher. We talked with him earlier on Katz and Cosby. He's a veteran of Air Force and Space Force, and this is his assessment of why those troops are going.
But I think the troop movements are a great example of we would rather have them and not need them than need them and not have them there. And I think by them being in the theater, it does two primary things. Number one, it gives the president options. There's a slew of options that he could take, but he gives them those options. And then number two, it complicates Iran's strategic calculus because now they've got to believe that we are ready, willing, and able to escalate, and that makes things a lot more difficult for them.
Let's go to your calls, guys. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Charles in Woodbridge, New Jersey, line 4. Charles, your thoughts?
Yes, when I was there 30 years ago, I was on board a destroyer called USS Elliott, DD-967.
Oh, wow, okay.
And we helped, we had minesweepers out there. Part of our job is we gave the minesweepers fresh water because they can't make their own fresh water. But what the sad part about it, when they're talking about, like, how they're talking about it, like how none of the NATO people would go out and put ships, I had the honor of serving with British sailors. There was a British ship, destroyer, and a Japanese destroyer out there. They all helped us out, and it was an honor to serve with them. I can't believe they wouldn't send anybody else out to help them out.
Why do you think? Now, Charles, I have so many questions. You were there at the Strait of Hormuz?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so describe it for everybody. What the Strait of Hormuz, what does it look like? I know at one place it's like 2 miles is sort of the narrowest, right, in the width. But kind of describe, can you kind of describe just what it looks like in the scene?
Well, first you go through what they call the Gulf of Oman. And then I don't think it's 2 miles. I think it's a little bit more than that. But whenever we crossed the Straits of Hormuz, when we traversed it, we had to we went at full speed and we were ready because even though we were at war with Iraq and they were having problems with Saddam Hussein, the Iranian Navy was giving us a hard time. They had the small boats. They had we used to call them cigarette boats. They were speedboats, and they used to give us harassment all the time.
Now, these speedboats, they could also drop off mines, right? I mean, that's the scary thing. It doesn't take a big boat to drop a mine.
Well, the ones that were giving us the problems, they have the drones and everything in there now. With us, they had Exocet missiles. They had them. I think they had them on the boats. I know we were afraid of that. We were afraid of not the Scud missiles. The Scud missiles were on the land. We were afraid of the Silkworm missiles. Because that's what they were shooting at the shipping back then, 30 years ago.
Wow. And now talk about the partnership that you brought up with the UK, Charles, because it is stunning. And I go back, I think about like World War II and just the incredible relationship that the U.S. and UK has. To me, it really is shocking that they're not stepping up to the plate. I mean, it's obviously it's the UK Prime Minister. It's Keir Starmer, who is a very different breed than a Winston Churchill. That's for sure, Charles.
Well, when we were there again, there was a British destroyer with us. We were in our port of operations was Bahrain, and there was a British destroyer and a Japanese destroyer. And we all used to go to a place there. They had the administrative support unit. We used to call it alcohol support unit. It was the only place you could get a drink there. And all the British sailors, all the American sailors, Japanese, you could all go there, and everybody got along. And they were really nice people. I got to say that. The people we were out there, whenever I was in Hong Kong, the British Navy, all the military, the Royal Marines, we all got along out there. And anyone I ever met, I never had any problems with. It was really a great experience. I got to say it. I mean, I don't know how it is now, but with us, it was great. I can't believe that they won't, that it's the way it is they're talking about now.
Well, and Germany came out and said it's not our war. France came out and said that the only way that they might help is when the bombs stop flying. But then they put out this statement But, the statement, as I've been saying, Charles, is just a statement. I mean, what does that mean? If you put out a statement and say, hey, we're going to try to help at some point, but not say how. I mean, what kind of weaponry could they do? What should they do?
I couldn't. Again, I wouldn't even want to hazard a guess. But you mentioned the French. There was actually a French surveying ship out there, and we actually saved them from getting mined by. Actually, it was a Iraqi anti-ship mine. It was actually made in the United States, and we saved that ship from getting mined from them.
Wow. Well, Charles, I thank you so much for calling. It's really interesting to get your perspective because you know that area. And I think you're a testament to being shocked, just like we all are, that they haven't stepped up to the plate. Says a lot. Charles, thank you very much. You're terrific. We really appreciate it. Let's go to Norm on line 2. Norm, your thoughts tonight?
Hi, Rita. Yes. When you discuss the bombing that happened near the Kotel, near the Wailing Wall, that area there is it's very interesting because that is you have the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. That's the site of Golgotha where Jesus was crucified. You have the Kotel, which was the Wailing Wall, which was around the temple and the Great Temple in Jerusalem. I think the second one. And then, of course, you have the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And in the basement of the Al-Aqsa Mosque is the third holiest site in Islam. That's the site of the Dome of the Rock. And that's where the Prophet Muhammad struck his head and ascended to paradise. And so the fact that they are, and I saw it. Tourists,
you saw it, right? I mean, it's a huge crater.
Yeah. No, I saw the Dome of I saw the rock in the basement of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. When I was a kid, a tourist was able to go. Before the Intifada, all tourists were allowed to go. My family, we did touring. I was in Israel 9 months of my life, and we did touring in the 60s and 70s to sites that were, I was in the Church of Holy Sepulchre.
I was
in
too.
Bethlehem.
By the way, I was there not that long ago, a couple of years ago. I didn't go inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque, but you can't, but I saw it.
Yeah. Only Muslims are allowed in. That would be an international incident if Rita Cosby would go inside of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and see. But anyway, I'm just saying they don't seem to care too much about the religion, these Ayatollahs, if they're bombing that area, because they would literally wipe out. I mean, you have Mecca, you have Medina, and then you have the Al-Aqsa Mosque, you have the Dome of the Rock, and so. That would be a big no-no. That would cause a major problem in the Arab world, in the Muslim world.
Yeah, and that's why it's interesting that they've been firing so indiscriminately. I mean, everywhere. And look, they don't seem to care. I mean, they've been hitting obviously allies that are Arab. But you're right. It takes it to a whole new level if they were to hit that mosque or if they hit the Wailing Wall or hit any of these locations or, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. I mean, all of those are such unbelievable historic sites that are, I use the phrase irreplaceable because I don't even know how you could ever replace. But I'm concerned where this goes next, just because Iran keeps this sort of fire and brimstone comments that, they're firing in there. They're threatening tourist sites around the globe. What do you think's next, Norm? What's your thoughts?
Well, what's my thoughts are they're going to listen. If they're bombing there, I think the Iranians are capable of anything. A wounded animal is a very desperate thing. They could do anything. I mean, what I'm concerned with is America pushing Trump and everybody to get out of this thing. I'm already hearing from the libs on the Upper West Side where I train people. A guy goes to me, "Oh, this endless war." I said, "This endless war? It's like less than a month old."
Yeah, it's 3 weeks.
I'm like, they're already. CNN is already pushing the idea that this is it's gone on too far. I mean. Objectives have to be met. Objectives have to be won.
I agree. Hey, Norm, do me a favor because we got to go to a break. I want to carry you over because I agree. I think That's a huge issue right now because you also don't want him to pull out too soon to feel like he's pressured. You've come this far, finish the job, and they've done masterfully so far. So I agree. Norm, hold on. We're going to go to a break, and everybody will be right back here on The Rita Cosby Show. Norm, take it away because you had a very good point before the break about this sentiment of like, okay, well, now we got to hurry up and get out of there. My fear, Norm, is that if we don't take it all the way, then, a few months or a year or two from now, they're going to reconstitute everything and it's going to be, just like it was before. Then for what?
Exactly. You have to finish what you started. If you don't finish what you start, it will fester and it will become uncontrollable. So you have to, you have to finish this. There's no. I mean, we had to finish what we did in Vietnam. We had to finish what we did in Korea. We had to finish what we did in World War II. You have to finish this also. We made a cut. We have to follow through.
Well, and the one thing too, Norm, what does that mean to you?
Terrible.
Norm, what does that mean to you too? That we have to follow through. Does that mean regime change? In my mind, you can't have anybody who resembles like the Ayatollahs in control because then they'll just reconstitute.
Regime change. Nothing short of that. I think that it can work. To have them set up another bunch of Ayatollahs is not going to work. It's a pickle, Rita, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? We would have let it just keep going the way it was going. They were going to develop a bomb, and then they would be unstoppable. So it's the cards we were dealt. Okay, and they had it in their. They didn't have to play this game, but they decided to do it. Okay, and
no, you're right. You're right. It was their choice. They didn't have to play it, but they in fact, I mean, President Trump gave them every opportunity to come to the table, and he met with them. The team did, representatives did, gave them many chances. This was a last resort. But I agree. At this point, he has to take it all the way. And I give him a lot of credit for being courageous to do what so many other prior presidents didn't have the guts to do.